Where the hell are all the other samurai RPGs? That was my first thought after finishing Ghost of Tsushima and immediately scouring the internet for something, anything similar. So I did what any desperate gamer would do. I spiraled. Hours lost to Google, Reddit threads, random forum posts from 2009. Surely there was a hidden gem that I missed.
Now I want more.
Instead, I got Sekiro, Neo 1 and 2, Like a Dragon Ishin, and for those lucky enough to own a PS5, Rise of the Ronin. Great games, but none of them quite scratch that open world RPG itch. Rise of the Ronin might, but I can't even play it. Where's Witcher 3 but with katanas? Kingdom Come but set in feudal Japan. We've got Old West RPGs, vampire RPGs. We even have RPGs where you can date your own sword. And yet, somehow, samurai RPGs remain rare. And here's my golden rule. If I can't run around with my pants off, is it even an RPG? So, why is the genre so neglected? Ask the gaming industry, and you'll get a different answer from every dev. But if we dig into gaming history, the answer might be hiding in plain sight. Back in the 50s, video games were basically nerds in lab coats playing tic-tac-toe on million-dollar computers. Meanwhile, the average American dad was playing a much cheaper game called Leaving for Cigarettes. Japan, on the other hand, was busy inventing bullet trains and a work ethic so strong, it eventually needed its own medical term. Japan started dipping its toes into video games in the early 70s, and then developing their own in 1974. But by then, the industry had already gone global, meaning a lot of Japanese devs were making games with Western gamers in mind. At least until they fully embraced their own creative madness and started making RPGs about ninja kids fighting giant clockwork robots, cyberpunk samurai, and whatever the hell Seaman was. This interview from 2014 might also shed some light on the question. At the peak of the Assassin's Creed franchise's popularity in 2014, before the dark times, Ubisoft was asked if and when we should be expecting an Assassin's Creed Japan. Their answer was a strange one. At least, it doesn't really sit right with me. Their response was a resounding no. Because they thought, A, players would find it boring, and B, that setting has been overdone, and they would rather have the games take place in eras and lands that other games have not touched before. Okay, first of all, when the hell have samurais and ninjas been boring? Samurais are rad as hell. In fact, samurais and katanas were the inspiration for Jedi and lightsabers. That's how cool they were. As for the latter, I do agree with them wanting to explore other places besides Japan. As far as I know, Assassin's Creed 2 is the only game where you can just walk up to a guy during the Renaissance and punch him in the face. But you know what? Maybe they were right. Maybe, at the time, samurai games were oversaturated. So, let's check. Oh wait, they weren't. Dude. This is just Ninja Gaiden. There's also the Tenchu series, but that's more stealth than RPG. These two games don't really fit into the open world RPG genre, but there's another series on this list. Arguably the best samurai series ever made. Before I get into that one, let's quickly go over the modern games that would scratch the samurai itch. First and most obvious, if you want the best samurai experience in gaming, you're looking at it, the aforementioned Ghost of Tsushima. This is the samurai game, even leading into some ninja territory. The game is loosely based on the Mongolian invasion of Tsushima in 1274. We play as Jin Sakai, A samurai who has to choose between tradition, fighting back the invasion head-on with honor, or going down the path of the ghost, which is the stealthy ninja path. My only gripe? You never get to see Japan just vibing. Everyone's either dead, hiding, or getting Mongoled.
Goddamn Hungarian!
Other than that, the combat feels incredible. The stealth? It's called Ghost of Tsushima for a reason. You get the tools of a ninja like blow darts, smoke bombs, and assassinations. But the game never forgets that Jin is a samurai first. The story? It's brutal, emotional, the kind that sticks with you long after the credits roll. If you have a brother and you do have all of Norio's quests, man, you're gonna want to give him a hug after. And when it's all said and done, you even do the freaking elbow thing. It's fucking cool, man. Next up, we got the Nioh games. Also loosely based on true events, the first game is inspired by the life of William Adams, and the second is set in the late Sengoku period. Pretty cool, since your character is dropped into battles that actually happen. Well, minus the yokai, of course. I've only played and beaten the second one, but if the first is anything like it, then yeah, it's a Souls-like. So shit's harder than my harder than it needs to be. Studies show that 99% of Nioh players either develop acute pattern recognition skills, or they develop alcoholism. Being a Souls-like with yokai, Nioh doesn't quite fit the niche of a grounded open-world samurai RPG, but Nioh 2 is pretty fun. Of course, whenever people talk about samurai games, Sekiro is always part of the conversation. 2019's Game of the Year, Sekiro. It's got some of the best swordplay in gaming. Tight, precise, no room for error. You either master the deflect system, or you die. A lot. At least, Sekiro gives you more ways to escape death, like the grappling hook. Swinging across rooftops with no fall damage makes you feel like Samurai Spider-Man. It's refreshing until you remember that this is a FromSoft game and they want nothing more than to see you suffer. Also, like Spider-Man, we are not bulletproof. And despite how it looks, Sekiro isn't really a samurai RPG. It's a brutal, linear action game. No exploring the countryside, no forging your own path, just you, a sword, and an overwhelming sense of doom and misery. In that way, it fits right in with Nioh and Ghost of Tsushima. Games where you never get to see Japan just exist. The world is always trying to kill you, and peace is nothing more than a distant memory. So, what about something a little less punishing? Like a Dragon Ishin brings the over-the-top Yakuza chaos into a samurai setting. It's got historical figures, intense sword fights, and chicken racing. Hurry up, you useless nugget! Yep, that's a Yakuza game, alright. Now, I haven't played enough of Like a Dragon Ishin to have a strong opinion, but from what I've seen, it's got a lot of what I'm looking for. Historical setting, samurai action, RPG elements, and of course that signature Yakuza insanity. It's not a full open world RPG, but the semi-open structure and side activities give it that sandbox feel. If I'd spent more time with it, maybe I'd have deeper thoughts, but as it stands, it seems like one of the closest things we have to a samurai RPG. With that said, you still can't take off your pants, so maybe it's not quite there yet. Also, this game came out like over a decade ago, so why does it still cost the same as a new release? Am I buying a limited edition of my own financial mistakes? As an honorable mention, we have Kenshi. And honestly, I don't even know how to describe the game. It's like RuneScape if it took place in a Fallout-style apocalypse, except for some reason there are katanas, samurai, robots, and bug people. This game doesn't have a story. It's just pure sandbox. You make your own story. And trust me, if you play long enough, you'll have plenty of stories. Before you even set foot outside, Kenshi gives you one last chance to rethink your life choices. You can make a normal warrior, or an abomination that looks like it crawled straight out of oblivion.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Because nothing says gritty survival RPG like getting your ass beaten like a drum by bandits while looking like a fent flopper on East Hastings. You might think you're the chosen one, the protagonist with plot armor, but Kenshi will remind you that you're just some dude with a stick and a death wish. What's that, fog? What the hell? No, 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 no! But if there's one series that truly understands what it means to live by the sword, one game that lets you carve out your own path, it's this one. The Way of the Samurai series is arguably the best samurai game series that came out in the last 25 years. Rather than going through the whole series, I'll be focusing on Way of the Samurai 4, since it was the last one that we got coming out in 2011.
Each of the 9 different stances have unique attacks. Play online and meet other swordsmen from distant lands. Choose whether to become
The last one that we got. Because this is an older game, I'm gonna dive a little deeper into it than the others, since, let's be real, most of you probably haven't played it. You get to make your own samurai, be it a man, woman, or whatever Lovecraftian horror this thing is. The customization in this game is insane. You think it stops at just your character's appearance? Nah, dog. You can unlock different stances and new moves as you get better with each stance. Not good enough? You can eventually pick and choose what move and stance you want, and just mix and match them. We got dual wielding, one-handed, holding your sword backwards, the quick draw sheath stance, gun. You can build your own sword, reusing blades, guards, and hilts from swords that you disassemble. You can even use a long sword blade with a katana handle, or a tanto blade with an odachi handle. As far as I know, no other samurai game goes this deep into customization. The combat? A little dated, and sometimes completely unhinged. You can switch to the blunt edge of your sword for non-lethally subduing bad guys. Oh, and watch this. You can't have a samurai game without being able to do that. And there's a whole mechanic around doing it. I'm not diving deep into the story, but just know this. One ending has you getting boiled alive. Another turns you into Japan's top racist. And at no point does the game ask if you're okay. The humor is straight up Yakuza. One moment, you're in a dramatic life or death duel. The next, you're fighting this dude. There's a tournament where you fight a bunch of other people, and I'm a sucker for tournaments and games. The story is really short, and can probably be beaten in 2 to 3 hours if you take your time. However, the strength of this game is its replayability. Each time you die or complete the game, you get points to unlock new things like new skin colors, faces, and body types. You also carry over your experience and gear into your next playthrough. There are some downsides to this game though, being out during the PS triple and 360 era. The biggest problem, it's locked at 30 FPS. If you're like me and upgraded beyond a graphics card powered by hamster wheels, dropping from 120 FPS to a cinematic 30 is like getting hit with a flashbang in real life. I actually had to take breaks because my eyes were rejecting peasantry. The second, this game has some strange story beats, like some BDSM water torture. There's also a romance mechanic, and you can riz up pretty much anyone. Problem is, one particular character looks like she needs a permission slip.
You know, in situations like this, I always ask myself, what would P. Diddy do?
Technically it was the 1800s, so it was legal, but so was dying of diarrhea, and we don't bring that back either. After years of waiting, in February 2020, they finally released a spiritual successor, Katana Kami, A Way of the Samurai story. I was hyped, installed it, booted it up, and I swear to God, this game sucked so much ass that it should have came with D-pads. Long story short, if you wanted to play Way of the Samurai, you came to the wrong game. And since then, no new Way of the Samurai game has been released. You can sit and wait, praying that a new one gets announced. Or you could take matters into your own hands. Before Ghost of Tsushima was even announced, I was out here like a fiend looking for a fix. Seriously, try searching for open world samurai RPGs before 2020. You'll find more Bigfoot sightings. The options I hadn't played either didn't interest me or just weren't quite what I was looking for. That's when I took matters into my own hands by modding the hell out of Mountain Blade. Mountain Blade Warband is a medieval sandbox RPG where you start as a nobody, traveling from town to town, recruiting an army, gathering allies, and slowly building your influence. You can join factions and fight for their cause, or if you've got the money and manpower, you can create your own kingdom.
With blackjack and hookers!
With the Gekkokujo mod installed, hold on.
Gekkokujo.
下徳城
Oh, that's good enough for me. The game transforms into a full-blown samurai RPG. It's not perfect, but at the time, it was the best option available. Then came Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord, a sequel so delayed that fans went through all 5 stages of grief, twice. 12 years. That's longer than the entire MCU Infinity Saga. It was supposed to be everything Warband was. Bigger, better, and finally free of jank. And in some ways, it was. But in true Mountain Blade fashion, it somehow got even jankier. Samurai mods do exist, but every time the game updated, they broke faster than a Bethesda game on launch day. Right now, there's one mod that might finally get it right. Shokuho. There's no release date yet, but from what the team has shown, it looks incredible, if it actually comes out. We've just had a wave of samurai RPGs, but are we about to enter a drought? Fortunately, there's hope on the horizon, starting with the game that might just be the open-world samurai RPG experience that we've been waiting for. First up, Rise of the Ronin finally made the jump from PS5 to PC. And if you were expecting a flawless, well-optimized port, welcome to your first day on PC gaming. Look, I played it a bit and it's not bad so far, but I have a 4090. Anyway, next we got the Ghost of Tsushima sequel, Ghost of Yotei, and oh boy. People are already fighting over the new protagonist. Some are excited, some are furious. Me? I'm just mad that it's probably going to be stuck on PS5 for 2 years before we get a PC port, just like the first game. But as long as it plays like the original, I'm in. Especially if the hot springs are done exactly the same.
Booty!
Obviously, we can't talk about the upcoming samurai RPGs without mentioning Assassin's Creed Shadows. And let's be honest here, it's like walking into a katana fight with a butter knife. Fans have been begging for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan for over a decade now. But then, Ghost of Tsushima happened, and Sucker Punch kinda stole their lunch money. They didn't make just a great samurai game. They made a game that felt like an Assassin's Creed game, but better. Let's be real. If you tweaked the script, made Jin Sakai an assassin, swapped the Mongols with Templars, it would have been the best Assassin's Creed game ever. Now, Ubisoft has a huge problem. They finally show up to their own party, but someone else already threw the best one in town. And on top of that, Ubisoft has been speedrunning how fast they can lose all the players' goodwill. Microtransactions in the single-player game? Really? Remember Shadow of War? The second they shoved all the microtransactions into the game, the internet tore it apart so badly that they had it completely removed. But credit where it's due. Say what you want about Ubisoft's open world checklists, but no one else lets you explore places like ancient Egypt, Greece, Italy, all wrapped up in a ridiculously detailed world. Even though the games are just clones of The Witcher 3, you can't deny they look amazing. Fun fact, when the Notre Dame burned down, they actually used the 3D model Ubisoft made for Assassin's Creed Unity to help with the reconstruction. That's how insanely detailed they get. So, where does that leave Assassin's Creed Shadows? Well, it's already hella controversial. But whether it's a mess or a masterpiece, it at least fills the niche. And at worst, it'll be mid. Which honestly isn't great for a AAA game, but at least it won't be. Let me know what you pick. They both suck. I'm just glad we're finally getting more samurai RPGs. We're still not quite at the dream scenario. Imagine the deep customization and branching choices of Way of the Samurai combined with the polished stealth and razor-sharp combat of Ghost of Tsushima, and then throw in a hot spring scene just for good measure. But until then, at least we have mods. Come on, Shokuho, stop edging me. Come on. If you made it this far, thank you. Seriously. If I made you laugh even once, drop a like. And if you want to hear me ramble even more about games, hit subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's your dream samurai game?